What's up, guys? Welcome to Podcast 412, Fight for Purity. A bold way of looking at challenges that young people are facing. We'll talk about the naked truth of life and how to handle the problems you're thinking but not talking about. So strap in, get ready for another great podcast.
This podcast episode is not considered age appropriate due to discussion of sensitive topics. Parent or guardian discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Podcast 412. Today we're going to be talking about some red flags, and Debbie's going to start us off with a fun fact.
Okay, so the fun fact for today, and remember it's red flags, so no small children. Disclaimers, okay. So it says the most significant anatomical difference between males and females, and now some of you guys are going to be shocked, okay, is the reproductive system. And basically, male's reproductive system is on the external side, and the women's reproductive system is on the internal side. And if you don't know what that means, you can ask an adult, okay? But I wanted to share that because it's according to this, it's the most significant difference between a male and a female. So if you didn't know, now you know.
You know?
I felt like it was important to share that.
For those of you that don't know.
Yeah, for those, in case you didn't know,
Yeah.
and you weren't sure, that's the best way for you to know.
I feel educated.
So, but Sarah, I think, is going to start it off because she has all the information, kind of, about. We're kind of going to talk about toxic relationships and what they look like. Mostly, well, we'll get to, I guess, we'll get to it, but we want you guys to know what bad conduct looks like. It's just one, but I think it kind of covers a lot of things.
Stealing all my words.
That you can look for in, or not look for. But I'll let her go ahead and take over from here.
So, like we said, red flags. And our red flags, they apply to any kind of relationship. You know, like typically, you know, when we're looking at red flags, we're thinking like romantic relationships, but these can count for friendships. Yes. These can count for family members too sometimes. Yeah. So adults, kids,
fathers,
mothers, siblings, cousins, you know, whatever and everything, you know. So like you said, it's just kind of, we're looking at the negative side of conduct today. That like last time we were talking about good conduct of the good conduct of a woman or good conduct of a man, being a gentleman or a lady, and today's kind of the opposite. The things you want to watch out for, either in yourself or other people. We're looking at two things today: abusive relationships and narcissism, because they kind of go hand in hand. Quick definition though, narcissism is just it's just a fancy way of saying that you pretty much think about yourself. It's all about you. You don't care about anybody else's feelings. What was it? Like you have this constant need of attention, and that you have like this elevated sense of self-worth. Like you think you're up here above everybody else. So that's kind of the basis of narcissism. If that describes you already, then
So is it cool if she gives the definition, like an actual? I think you have it still, right?
So I have something that says the symptoms of it are sense of self-importance, which you're talking about, preoccupation with power, beauty, or success, entitlement, can only be around people who are important or special, interpersonally exploitive for their own gain. So you look for others or whatever to, I guess, for your own. You take advantage of people to help elevate yourself. Arrogant, lack empathy, and must be admired. So
must.
Yeah, you must be admired.
I like what you said when you talked about how they see.
Oh, how they see themselves. Like, narcissist. I can't even say it. Those people, they, because I know a lot of people think that it's just like a self-love type of thing, which is true to an extent, but what it is they create this, really they're delusional. They create this fantasy that they're this great unique person, and that's what they love, but it's not real. They're not this great person, this unique person, but in their head they are. And that's why they feel they need to be, admired all the time, and they need all this constant attention, because in their eyes, they're this just great person. And
They have an unreasonably high sense of like
self-worth,
importance.
Yeah, self-importance. It's just exaggerated, but it's all a fantasy. So they're in their own fantasy world. So that you also have to think about that when you're dealing with them. They're delusional. So
They're in their own world.
they really are. They're in their own world, and that's why they think they deserve all this special treatment, because they live in their own little fantasy world.
Well, I guess that makes sense. Like whenever like they're corrected, like when they come, like when someone comes at them, not like it doesn't have to be like in a rude way either. Like they can be like, hey, hello, and they're just like harmed by it because they have themselves as such like a
Pedestal.
yeah, and it's like, how dare you talk to me that way?
Speak to
Don't
me,
you know who I am? They always play the victim card.
Yeah, it knocks them off their high horse.
Yeah. So you want to give some, I guess,
What?
some insight
Into what?
into some of
What?
into some of their ways.
All right, so some common signs of narcissism. All right, so like you said, a sense of entitlement. So that's like the most common sign. It's just they believe they're above, like you said, everybody else. They need that special treatment to work with the whole fantasy in their head.
Basically entitled, right? Like,
Yeah.
I deserve.
I deserve this. They think
Deserve
that
it.
everybody should be obedient to their wishes because the rules don't apply to them, okay? This is according to WebMD, okay? Another one is manipulative behavior. So they're always trying to control somebody else. It says they'll try to please you and impress you first, but eventually their own thoughts and their own needs are going to come first. Like it's just like eventually they're going to try and win you over kind of thing. Like you said, so they can be admired, but then their
And
need
it's
to
all for their own gain.
but it's all for their own, like you said, exploitive. Man. Yeah, that's sad, isn't it? So lack of empathy, like I think I said it. They don't care about you or your feelings, like nothing. Not even like, you know how sometimes like we get all I don't care mode. That's like they're just always
They're
on.
like a steamroller.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just
So so when you say empathy, I know that sounds kind of basic, but what's like empathy?
It's like feeling bad for others.
Caring
Like
about others' feelings.
yeah, like empathy is kind of like you're sad because somebody else is sad. Like you kind of like understand their situation. You're like, dang, that sucks. Or you're upset because they're
Or I
upset.
guess like being able to relate with somebody.
Yeah, kind of like being able to relate. They don't
relate.
they
to
don't
you.
they don't have that.
That way, I don't want to just say it and expect people to. Okay, yeah.
And then arrogance, of course. That's like pride, I guess. Pride. They think they're awesome at everything because they got that whole fantasy to live up to. So they might be rude or they might be abusive, like we were saying, because they think that you're not treating them the way they deserve to be treated with their awesomeness.
Yeah.
So those are like the big ones. There's other signs. You want me to go over the other signs?
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
So sense of self-importance or exaggerating their achievements and talents. So it goes with the whole fantasy thing, Preoccupations with fantasies of success, power, or brilliance. Fantasy is a big thing in here. Belief they're more special or unique than others, so they should only associate or be around people that are high status. So envy of others or the belief that others are envious of them, so that means that they're either jealous of everybody or they think everybody's jealous of them.
and it's like
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh. They think they're all that in a bag of chips. And then insisting they have the best of everything. So it's either like they do have the best or they need to have the best of everything. And then feeling they deserve privileges or special treatment because they're just that awesome. So they need to have it all.
So what do you guys think that looks like? I mean, 'cause I know we hear it, but I wonder what that looks like in a relationship.
Like a friendship or like
or
a relationship?
friendship or a relationship with a guy.
I think in a friendship, honestly, I think if you have like a narcissistic friend, I think what it is they kind of like talk down to you a lot, and they're always kind of like trying to one up you, because they have to be better, you know, they have to have that fantasy of being the most awesomest person. So I feel like anything you do is going to be like kind of pushed down.
I feel like there's always like those backhanded compliments.
Yeah.
Like they'll say something and it's like, oh, well, it's because of this. Like, you know.
Yeah, like that whole like I'm trying to. I know, like I always think of the Mean Girls, like the way that the girl in Mean Girls. If you ever seen Mean Girls, the main one, yeah, like she gives you a compliment, but she kind of like does it in a mean way. It's like, that skirt's so cute, like you wouldn't even be able to tell that you've gotten a size bigger, you know, kind of thing. You know, you know,
It would look better on me or something.
you know, like kind of thing where there's a compliment, but not really. I think so. I think like for that, I think that's kind of what it would look like in a friendship. There's like that kind of rude leader who's always like kind of putting down other people, and they always surround themselves, I feel like, with people who are just gonna praise them, who are gonna feed that fantasy,
Gonna make them look good.
and
you're just there for
Because I saw that even about the narcissist is that when they get in a relationship, really with anybody, a friendship or a romantic, whatever, they're not looking for love. They're looking for obedient admirers. That's what they said. So
groupies.
Yeah, like obedient. Yeah, you have to be obedient and you have to be an admirer of them, you know, like, so that's what they're looking for. And they'll do whatever to keep you pretty much, you know, like he said, manipulate you and everything.
Well, and then think about like, how do you get drawn into a relationship like that with somebody? Like, think about what would draw you in.
Their self-confidence.
Yeah.
They seem like this, because they're gonna, you know, praise them. Yeah, show off the best, you know, whether it's their job or their...
Because I've heard people be, like, in relationships with somebody like that, like, for a long time, and you wonder what pulled you in. Was it what they said? Was it how they treated you? Or was it because you're vulnerable in some way because of how you feel about who you are? You know what I mean? Like, what draws you in as a person, you know? Because maybe somebody out might be, like, you know, kind of more aware, but what would, you know?
Well, I think it's, because remember it said in the beginning, they try to impress you and they try to please you first. So, like, they somehow make this awesome impression on you, and so you want to stay around them. And I think, like she said, too, like self-confidence. You know, you want to be around people who feel good about themselves, because somehow you feel like it's infectious. You know, it'll help you feel better about yourself because they're so awesome. You're like, some of that's gonna rub off on me, kind of thing.
And I think a lot of them are charismatic, so they know how to talk, they know like what to do. And what I've noticed growing up, seeing it in my family, is they're really good with people. They're really good with talking and how they talk and their persuasion, you know, how they use their words. And I think when they look at someone, I don't think it necessarily has to be someone vulnerable, because there's been women that I have seen that kind of are like, they come from good homes and stuff, and they get caught up in that still. You know, I think it's easier for someone who's vulnerable and who has little self-worth or doesn't have confidence for them to get pulled in. But I think sometimes for the other ones, I think what I've seen is like, it's more of a challenge. But if they can get through those, if you don't have strong boundaries, how we talked before, or whatever, like they can get through it just by being charismatic. And sometimes if it's like a challenge for them, however long it takes them, if they can get you there and then start to take away everything from you, like your friends, or I know a lot of them, like narcissism goes in hand with gaslighting, and gaslighting is like, they'll tell you, oh, well, it's your fault. Like, even if I messed up, somehow it's your fault. And so they start to belittle you and make you question who you are and your self-worth, and, you know, even if you had that before.
I think that's something that you mentioned earlier, Sarah, about how they try to push the boundaries or break your boundaries, or
so that kind of
like that.
Goes into the abusive relationship.
Oh, okay.
So is what it is, which usually if you're narcissistic, it tends to connect somehow, some way, you know. And abusive relationships isn't just physical, you know. That's what people tend to, I guess that's the hardest like the most common, I guess, kind
It's
of.
most visible.
Most visible. There we
Yeah.
go. I was like, what's the word? The most visible kind of abuse is physical, but there's such a thing as verbal and emotional abuse, which just means instead of tearing you down physically, it's in your emotions or it's with their words. And that is one of the big things, one of the signs of being in an abusive relationship is that it's not their fault, it's yours. Somehow. Doesn't matter what it was. Past relationships, they're upset because you did something wrong. It doesn't matter how bad they got upset. It's all on you.
So
somehow.
if they cheat on you, it's your fault.
It's your fault. You didn't do something right. You weren't somehow meeting their needs. Yes. Outside looking in, it seems silly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But but when you're in it, you know?
No, yeah.
It's so easy to get there because, I mean, when they isolate you from everybody, you feel like you have nobody. So you burn bridges with family. You know, when I grew up, my mom was in an abusive relationship, you know, and she lost her job. She didn't have any money. She didn't have her own car. All of our family members were mad at her because she stayed in this relationship. And I think the only reason why they would come help is because we were involved. You know, but in the beginning, he showered us with gifts. He bought us the brand new PlayStations. He got us all the games for it. He took us to the fair. He bought us everything, you know, and he had money, you know, he wasn't, you know, poor, you know, and he'd just buy stuff. But eventually he isolated her and then he'd make her feel worthless. I think even when she finally left him, like the fear of what they bring to you, of like the fear of being alone and stuff, my mom had to fight that for a long time. And so like even I think when she was driving one time and she thought she saw him, and as she's driving she ducked down, you know, in the middle of driving in the road, you know. So they get you to this like mental state of like fear and confusion and stuff. So, and that can happen to anybody because it's not like right away. They don't show that. It's over a period of time, you know. So you have to watch out if the way they talk to you, you know, how they make you feel about yourself. I don't know if there's another list like of, you know, what to look about yourself when you're in it. I don't know if you had a list.
She's like, I don't know either.
Well, when we were talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, like for like with my mom. I mean, I don't think it was a narcissist, but she was in a abusive relationship. And one thing I noticed, like about women, is they tend to be in these relationships like for a long time. Yeah. It's like you get stuck in it. And my mom was in it for years. Like she had a child, and then it was like, I don't know how long. It was like it was like 10 years or something that she was in it. It might have been longer than that, but I think it was like 10 years. And you're just in this abuse. Yeah, but it's funny is that he didn't really provide anything. Like he wasn't a provider, at least in our family, not a provider financially. He didn't work. And he wasn't abusive like every day. It wasn't like an everyday, you know, might have been every weekend maybe sometimes. But it was just, I noticed it was just ongoing, like over. And I noticed that women tend to really get stuck in a bad relationship. You know, it's a pattern, but it's almost like you get used to it. You get used to the pattern of just, he would come and then he would leave. At least my mom's boyfriend, he would be around for a few months and then he would leave for maybe a month or 3. But she'd always open the door. There'd be a big fight and then he'd be back in the house again.
Yeah, it's like that honeymoon phase we talk
Yeah,
about. It's
yeah.
like the feeling lonely, and
Yeah.
then, you know, they shower you with, well, maybe if they don't have money, you know, their
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
attention. With her, it was attention. Yeah, because there was physical abuse, like usually all the time. So, but it was you wonder like why was it so? And then maybe it was probably the attention that, but
Yeah, because you can get into that at a young age too. Even, you know, and they don't have money. It's not like they have all this stuff, but it's the attention, you know.
Well, even because like I was with a guy who didn't even have his own car. He was always using like either his mom's or the girls that he was with. And then whenever he got whatever he wanted, he'd like ghost me. And so, and like, so like go like for like months, and then out of nowhere, he'd like just like pop up. And then I'd get sucked back in because like with the words that he says, and like, and I used to be like the idiots. Not idiots, sorry, I shouldn't say that. But myself, I'm saying that about myself. Like, it wasn't a very smart choice, but like, I'd be like, oh, well, this is what he said. And I like screenshot it and put it like on my old Instagram and be like, he loves me. But like, you know, reality, it's just.
so you take. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Huh?
I was gonna say. So technically, you weren't observing his conduct. You
No.
were just listening to the words.
I was just listening to the words. It was like a
And
serpent.
no matter what anybody told her, like, can't you see, like, this is what he's doing, she would like get mad at us. You know, it was like defending because of the attention, I think, and because you wanted to feel wanted and loved.
It was just a constant. So, with that, brings the list. Hopefully. Oh no. Well, hold on. I'll be quick. Okay. so like so people like that, like they drain your mental and emotional resources. Like they hijack your sense of self, infect your mood and outlook on life. They create stress and unhappiness, make you doubt your feelings and experiences, slow or sabotage your progress. Like if you're having progress in anything, you know, and pull you away from healthy, empowering, uplifting relationships. So pretty much what was all mentioned, you know, like the seclusion and all that. And like they have, like relationships like that have an effect on your health overall. Yeah. It says that, like, you know, being around that, it can create heart disease. Like, yeah. So like it's like wild.
It's like a drug almost.
Yeah.
So
It really is.
I guess you could say they get you high, and then after you get that high, that's all you want. You know, I feel like that's how it is with drug addicts. Is like, once you feel that first high, you're always chasing that first high. So you're willing to seclude yourself. You're willing to lose your job. You're willing because you're so hungry for that first high. And I feel like that's probably what they do to you, and that's why you're willing to.
Yeah. Even like whenever like he would like stop talking to me, like I always felt like I was like withdrawing. Like I didn't see it as that, but like I was always angry. Like I didn't want, like I wouldn't eat. Like I was got to the point where I was so stressed out that my stomach felt sick. Like nothing. Like I wouldn't eat for days. Yeah. Wow. There's a lot coming out. That it's just like, I just learned this about myself today, guys.
Well, and it's funny is they don't want you to have healthy relationships. I mean, I know that we work with women that were in like, you know, abusive relationships, and they didn't want, like you said, progress. They didn't want their women to have jobs. They didn't want them like to become independent, because I think, you know, that independence was almost like, you know, a threat to what they were trying to accomplish or what they were wanting from them.
That's part of the isolation that, like in the list of, they're trying to get you to be an island so that you have no support. So like if you have people who are like friends that are girls, at least for a girl, somehow or another your friends are a bad influence somehow. And so you need to cut ties. Or if you have a good relationship with your family, they somehow say that, well, you're depending too much on your family. Like, you know, you still got the umbilical cord kind of attached to thing. So that way you're like, oh, well, then let me start backing off from my friends. Let me start backing off from my family. And like you said, like they try to unreliable transportation. They'll spend your money, or they won't give you money if you don't have your own job. So that way they're your source of support. I think that's part of the isolation.
They're the most important.
They're because they have to be, because you don't have anything else.
And they make like everyone around you seem like they're villains, because like a lot of the times they'll use like, oh, they're just jealous because they don't have what we have. They want what we have, so they're just jealous. That's why they're telling you all these things. That's why they're making up these lies. They don't know me. Like,
Just so you know, behind the mask of extreme confidence says they are not sure of their self-worth, and they are easily upset by the slightest criticism. So it's all, well, fantasy. Like you said, it's all a mask. You know, they live under this, but they're really insecure and have all these issues.
Yeah, because I wanted to see what it looked like, you know, because you hear it, but when you're in it, it's like an addict. You don't realize that you're so far, and it has so much control over your life. And I think especially in our generation, so many young girls get caught up. And I think a lot of it, you know, I could be wrong, but a lot of it can probably come from the fact that they don't have fathers. You know, they don't have, you know, good male role models to show them what a healthy relationship should look like. And you know, because what was it that we said? Well, I'll say it for later. But I think that's part of it, is that you're willing to take. I know for me, like not having a dad, I didn't really have any standards, because I didn't know what a standard how to set my standards or really where. I mean, I did have some, but I think when it came to males, there wasn't a whole lot there. And so the first, or not the first guy, but, you know, the first person that maybe would compliment you or say something nice to you or be kind to you in some form was enough to break down the barrier, you know. So there's not a whole lot there to fight, you know, through. And so it's so important for you as a woman to like have some boundaries in your life, like we talked about. And I know we talk about a lot, but
Yeah. Well,
But you have to.
not even a woman, because like I know it's not talked about a lot, but like a guy can be in an abusive relationship too, especially now. They're like women are like a lot more like bold, you know, and independent now. So it's absolutely possible for a woman to be narcissistic and abusive in a relationship, you know. And if you're in that, it doesn't somehow, one of the things a part of abusive relationship is that they tell you're somehow not a real woman or you're not a real man because you can't stand up to them, or because of something or other, like they somehow make you question your own like independence. So whether you're a woman or a man, like you can be stuck in that, because everybody has that insecurity, or gets sucked in with people who make them feel good for 1 second, get them nice things, take care of them, and then like take it away the next.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think some ways that girls or women may do it more is a manipulation with emotions. So maybe guys don't do that. Maybe sometimes, I guess, they would throw fits. Yeah. Some guys have, you know, but I think girls mostly, like, the way that they can is they'll manipulate through their emotions.
I think girls, obviously, because we're not quite as strong as men, it's more emotional and verbal for a guy questioning that manhood and everything. So it's the same thing. Like, you have to be aware, like you said, you have to look at their conduct, you have to look at how they're acting, you have to kind of take yourself out of it, though. Like realizing like, okay, this isn't about me, like I'm looking at this person through outside eyes, like we said, the outside looking in. You know, to realize, am I in an abusive relationship, or do I have a relationship with a narcissistic person? You know, and even flipping it around, am I the abuser? You know, am I the narcissist in this relationship, you know? And like, because I think we all have the tendency to be narcissistic. Like, we can all absolutely be those people who think we're better than everybody else. You know, it might not be always, you know, but, and just being aware that, like, if you're looking at other people like that, if you're trying to make friends with people because you're trying to lift yourself up to some kind of fantasy, then you need to, like, readjust your expectations and your standards for yourself.
180.
Yeah. And like realize like you're actually like dealing with other people, you know, you got to actually think about other people's feelings.
Yeah, definitely. I think also like, I think if you're in a relationship like that, like if you're the female and you're not sure, I think if you're in a relationship like that, you should be, when you're in any relationship, you should be able to like look at yourself and know like who you are, like your confidence level, and like be confident about who you are. You should be able to have your own like opinions and your own voice, and you should be able to disagree. Like even friends can disagree. I think we talked a lot about that, you know, about having your voice. Like, you know, you can disagree with a friend and still be friends.
Yeah.
You know, and you should be able to disagree with
A significant
a
other.
significant other and
Still be
okay. Yeah, still. And so I think that's a good way to look at it. You know, do you have a voice in the relationship, or is it always their voice that matters? Does yours matter just as much, you know, as their voice? Because it's easy to be, I think, in a relationship like that and not realize that you're like we talked about, like a toxic. That's a big word. I think you said I forgot when it came about that they stick that in the dictionary.
Oh, yeah. It was like the most searched word or something like that.
So because I think that's so common nowadays is, like I said, people elevate a toxic relationship or I have a toxic girlfriend. I'm like,
It's not a compliment, guys.
yeah, I goes like, why would you want a toxic girlfriend or a
Why would you
toxic
wanna call yourself
relationship?
toxic?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think we're probably gonna end it with that, and then we'll come back and hopefully have some more interesting.
Like if you're not sure, like you said, question. I mean, even you can just bring it up in the relationship. Be like, hey, like I'm worried about something, or I'm having questions about something.
Yeah.
And if they're trying to bring you down, or they're not listening to what you're saying, then you might be
Questions are answered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions are answered one way or another. You're going to get your answer. You're going to realize that I might be in a relationship like this, or I'm not. Thank God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's not healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we want you to be in a healthy relationship. Yes. So where you have a voice and where you can disagree, where you can have your opinion, where you can, So, yeah. So that's what a bad one looks like, okay?
Yes. This is bad conduct. These are bad things. These are things to not look at, to not
Don't
live up
chase-
to.
Yeah. Don't look for a guy that has these qualities in him.
And don't look for a girl that has these qualities.
Yeah.
Even
in
in your
the-
friendships.
And
If you have
in
a
your friendships.
Yeah, if you have a friend that you disagree with and then they get mad and then start talking all kinds of crap about you and making lies, that's not a good friend to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should be able to disagree with your friends.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, you guys, we'll see you later.
See you
and
guys next time.
We'll see you next time.
Yes.
Thanks for listening. Join us for our next podcast. You can contact us through Instagram at podcast412 or email us at 412fight@gmail.com. See you next time.